Hello. All right. Before we kind of start to wrap up our unit and you take your test tomorrow, I really wanted to take a closer look at matching percent bar graphs. We didn't do very many of these, and then the vocab. So first, I'm going to let you take a closer look at this bar. You will be asked to match. This is just a percent bar graph. It's a bar, and it's just matched up to percents. All right, these will always have a key. All right, and this one's kind of hard to tell. My bad. Okay. All right, the top one is lightly shaded, meaning that this region up here represents PS4s. Sorry, moving too fast. Firstly, you need to figure out what your graph is trying to tell you. So this graph is conveying to us the percents of students' favorite video game consoles. All right, so out of all the students surveyed for this data, all right, this percent said that their favorite were PS4s. The darkly shaded chose Xbox, so this middle section is for Xbox. And then the clear or not colored part was for Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo Switch. All right. All good choices, all good choices. All right. What we're going to have to do is match these up to a graph, all right? A lot of students I have seen that their first, mode of attack or the first thing that they try is looking and saying this one is smallest. That is my smallest bar. Okay, these two are close to the same size, but that one looks a little bit bigger. Okay, so these numbers kind of match. And seeing which ones match, that is not a surefire way to do this. This one also matches. This is my smallest number, slightly largest, slightly smaller than the largest, okay? It might be a good way to kind of mark out things where it's like, oh, my PS4 is the absolute smallest bar, and if, let's say, I said that my PS4, one of these said that I had like 11 students and then super tiny numbers for the other two, then you might be able to cancel it out that way. But you do have to go through and check and match percents. So if this graph is giving us percents, say I know from 0 and Switch ends at 40%, so Nintendo Switch on this graph is equivalent to 40% of the graph, okay? Then you're going to have to come down here and convert each of these data frequencies into percentages. So out of this table, if this were the number of students that were surveyed, okay, the ones who chose Nintendo is 40% of this data. Okay, you're trying to find the table that matches what would have been used to create this. All right, having said that, I think the best plan of attack is to go through and actually pull out the percentages. All right, if you're given your bar graph, go out and say, all right, this section is equivalent to 40%. My Xbox is from 40 to about halfway between 80 and 90. I'm going to say that's about 85, okay, because it's halfway. So 40 to 80, I know is 40 more percent, 10, 20, 30, 40, and then that extra 5. So Xbox is about 45% of the graph. Okay, and what percent would you say PS4 has? If it's starting at about 85, PS4 is taking up about, all right, this is 10%, and then that 5 makes it 15. Okay, and because these are percentages, we know that it will have to all come up to what percent? 100. So let's see, my 5 plus my 5 equals 10. Carry 1, 2, 6, 10. All right, so it does all add up to 100%. All right, so we didn't make any big mistakes anywhere. And that kind of matches what we said about the sizes versus smallest, largest by just a little bit, and then slightly smaller than largest. All right, now that we have our percents, we need to come down and figure out which table matches that. All right, on your tables, how do I determine how much of a percent 5 is out of my total data? Okay, hopefully you recall we've been using percent proportions. If you need a percent or have a percent on your test, I would place a bet that you're going to need to use a percent proportion. All right, These can help you convert fractions to percents, percents back to fractions, find parts and wholes, all of those things. So if we need to know what percent this 5 is for PS4 out of the total, well, 5 is part of that total data. We're looking for percent. And how do I find out how many total students are in this? Okay, in this table, I have 5 here, 8 here, 7 here. So let's add them up to find our total. 7 plus 8 is 15, because 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 more is 15, plus 5 is 20. Okay, so if this is 5/20ths, all right, I'm going to zoom in so that we can solve this. Remember, percent proportions are just part over whole equals what percent over 100. You always multiply diagonally and then divide by what's left. Okay, so if we're doing 5 times 100, 100 times anything is just going to add 2 zeros at the end. Okay, so this is 500, and then you're going to divide by what's left. So 500 divided by 20, 20 goes into 5 0 times, 20 goes into 50 twice, minus 40 leaves me with 10. Oh, I'm so sorry. There you go. Okay, draw out my last 0. 20 goes into 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 5 times. Okay, exactly. And I have nothing left on top or bottom to use. So this is just 25. And since I'm putting it over here where my X was, that is 25%. Okay, that's how you're going to figure out what percent is in your table. So if I know that this 5 is equal to 25% of the table, PS4's 25. They do not match. Okay, on your test, you need to go through and convert each one of them to percents. If you just do one and then you get to the end and none of them match, then you've made a mistake. All right. It's better to go through and make sure that you've converted each of them to a percent to make sure they match. Also, you will be given the opposite of this. You will be given a table at some point and asked to match it to bar graphs. So you need to convert each number in the table to a percent. Go ahead and convert your 8 and 7 to a percent, and I will let you check your work. Okay, so 8 is what percent of the table? All right, you should have set 8 as the part. Remember, 20 is still the whole because we added up all the values in that table. Cross multiply, you should get 800. If you divide by 20, you should have gotten 40. Okay, if you said 20 goes into 84 times and stopped because there's just a 0 here. All right, this is still 800. There's no decimal, so we have to use it. So minus 80 gave us a 0, and we still have to drop that 0 that we already had, and 20 goes into 0 times. Okay, you have to cover each of those numbers to the end. So this is simply 40%. So 8 equals 40. And that is close but not quite to our Xbox, but we knew that this wouldn't exactly match. All right, go ahead and do the 7, and then you can check. All right, when you put 7 in for the part, and 20 is still the total students in that table, 7 times 100 should have gotten you 700. Okay, divided by what was left, which was 20. 20 goes into 73 times, drop that 0, and 20 goes into 100 exactly 5 times. We have nothing left up top, and it went in evenly, so it is just 35%. Okay. So that's how you go through and find the percent for a whole table. Now we're going to go through and do it for the first ones to see which one matches, and then only do the rest from there. Thank you for bearing with me. So let's go ahead and test B. Remember what we talked about, how if you find a percent and this is part of your data, it's not going to be the same whole for every table. It may or may not be. You need to go through and check. Okay, there were 20 total students in this table, but how many total students are in table B? Okay, 3 plus 8 is 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. Plus 4 is 15. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, your total for this table is going to be out of 15. So when you set up your proportion, what are you going to use for your part and your whole? Okay, it's always over percent over 100. We're looking for that percent. And this is 3. So 3 is part of the table. out of the whole, which is the 15 in the table. Okay, go ahead and solve, cross multiply and divide. Remember, for PS4s, we're looking for 15%. See if it matches. Go ahead, solve the proportion, and see what percent you get. All right, when you solved, you should have done 3 times 100 and gotten 300. And then divided by what was left, which was 15. 15 goes into 30 twice. I've had a lot of students ask me how I know where to jump when I divide. I apologize. I'll step back a second. 15 can't go into 3, so I'm going to jump and combine both of them. Okay, you could put the 0 up top and say minus 0, drop it, okay, and then do 15 into 30. All right, so 15 goes into 30 twice, 300, okay. Subtract it, end up with 0, drop your 0, and then 15 goes into 0 times. So it's equal to 20%, all right? And this time, thank you for bearing with me on that last table. All right, I just want you to be able to get comfortable with those proportions. It doesn't quite match what I have. It's close, but not quite. So if I continue and don't find one, I'm gonna come back here and double check all my numbers. I do wanna show you really quick one thing, and that's on some of your tables, it depends. They might try to trick you and make it look like it would match. They might have one that comes out to an even percent that matches. And then the numbers look like the sizes on your graph. And so you might think, ooh, that's probably it. But if you check it, only 1 or 2 will actually equal percents. And then 1 or 2 of the rest of them will be a really, really long, not even number. Okay, when you divide, you won't get a straight even percent. Remember, in 6th grade, we only go to the thousandths place. So when you divide, okay, if you have, you know, number, you put your decimal and you keep adding zeros. And you keep going and filling in with numbers and numbers and numbers. Okay, remember, we always stop at 6th grade in that thousandths place. Tens, hundreds, thousands. If you go past the thousandths place, just stop on that next one, round for your thousandths, and then move on. Okay. If it's not going in evenly and it's not just a repeating number, that's probably a sign that it's not quite the right answer. So pause there, see what you get. This is about, you know, if this was just a decimal, it'd be about 42%. If this is my percent, then, you know, that would be like 12% if you're rounding. But I just want to let you know, you will come across that on your test if you're checking every single one for percent. All right. Lastly, I want you to check tables C and D by yourself. All right. Convert these to the percents for their tables and see which one matches what we are looking for. All right. For this table, when you set it up, your part we're looking for first is 3, and your total, 3 plus 9 is 12, plus 8 is 20. Okay, so it's 3 over 20 equals percent over 100. All right. And you should have gotten 300 when you multiplied and then divided by what was left. 20 goes into 300 15 times. So this one does equal 15%. So far equals 15%. So good. Okay. It's up to you now. You can either continue doing both of your tables. You can jump over to this one and see if this is also 15%, or you can finish this one out. It's up to you, but in a second, I'll let you check all of the percents before we move on. All right, if you went to the next table and you did that one part out of 20, if you add it up, you have 1 plus 11 is 12, plus 8 is 20, okay? You multiply and get 100, divide it by what's left, 20 goes into 105 times. By the way, this is the kind of work that you should be showing on your test. I should see you write out your proportions, and I should see you solve. The only thing on here that if I didn't see, I wouldn't be mad about is if you know that times 100 adds 2 zeros, okay? I want to see your proportions, and I want to see your division, okay? All right, the second one on that original table, we know this is 15%, so let's check the rest of them. 9 out of 20, so part over whole, your fraction or your ratio is 9 to 20, or 9 out of 20, sorry. All right, cross multiply, get 900, divide by 20. 20 goes into 94 times, subtract that 80, get 10. Drop your 1, 20 goes into 100 exactly 5 times. So this is equal to 45%. Let me go ahead and label this was equal to 5%. Okay, so already this one's not close like we thought. Let's double check and just make sure that this really is it out of 8. And by the way, we've already done 8 out of 20 up here and we got 40%. If you don't remember, okay, 8 over 20, we got 800 divided by 20. It went in exactly 40 times. So this is equal to 40%. All right, that's how you know if they match. So up top, we had our percent bar or a percent graph. All right, and we already pulled it out. We used our key and we said this one is PS4. This is shaded to 15%. Our dark spot is Xbox. From 40 to 85 is 45%. And our switch covered from 0% to 40, which was 40%. All right, we used percent proportions to match that to our tables. Okay, in this table we had 20 students total. 3 out of 20 was 15%. PS4, check. Okay, Xbox, we had 9 students, which was 45%. Okay, that matches what we had. The next one, we're looking for Nintendo Switch to be equal to 40. Nintendo equal to 40. Yep. All right, that's how you know that they match exactly. All right. If you have any questions about this, please ask.